Animus! Hey everyone, I'm Ed Rodriguez, creator of the Animus draft building card game, and in this video we're going to be covering the new add-on to the game called Fractured Echoes. This new add-on adds new cards that replace the dice that you normally use in the game, and it's going to have cards instead, and it basically changes the combat mechanics a little bit. And don't worry, if you don't know the rules of the game, now this video won't be covering the basic rules of the game. There are videos that cover the rules in detail. If you look on the Zero Budget Geek YouTube channel, there is an official Animus card game playlist, and you can just catch up on all that other stuff there. But assuming that you know everything, we're gonna just dive right in here and just let you see what the new cards do for the game. Hello, so as you're seeing here, we're looking at the tabletop simulator version of the game that I used for playtesting, although I do intend to release this to the public. But this is a physical card game and it will be available physically. I'm just using the tabletop simulator version for this video just because it'll be easier to just show you the cards and control the camera at the same time. All right, so as you can see here, there are 5 decks of cards, and all this is they have different backs, but the contents of these decks are the same. It's just you have enough for multiple players, so it's one box set that you're going to be able to buy, and then it has enough cards for multiple players to play, as well as enough cards for the nemesis. Alright, so let's take a closer look at one of the decks here. I have it split into 2 because there's actually 2 types of cards that come in the game. There are dice cards, which just have they have some artwork and they have a big number on them, and these are numbered 1 through 6, and there's 2 copies of each number. So there's 2 6s, 2 5s, 2 4s, and so on. And so these are just called dice cards. These are just regular numbers. So anytime in the game that you would normally roll a die, so most of the time in the game you roll a die to get a combat result. See there, I would have drawn a 2. Normally you shuffle these dice decks, and then hey, I need to roll a die. You draw a card, flip it, and that's your die roll, a 1. If you know the game, sometimes you have advantage, which lets you draw 2 cards instead of 1, and rather you roll 2 dice instead of 1, and I spoiled it, you would draw 2 cards instead of 1 and pick 1. So the basic mechanic of how you resolve combat is essentially the same. It's just instead of rolling a die, you would just draw cards. Now the cool thing is that as you draw cards, the probability of what's left in the deck will change, because here, let's say we're in a game, we've already drawn 3 cards. Well, if we look at what's left in the deck, there's my 6s are still in there. I have 1 less 1, so it's less likely that I'll roll a 1. There's still some 2s and so on. So, and you can look at this at any time. You can look at your discarded dice cards at any time. You can look at your opponents, although you don't want to like slow down the game too much doing that, but you can look at the discards. Now here's the cool thing is that at the end of any player's turn, it doesn't have to be your turn, at the end of any player's turn, if you have at least 6 cards in your dice deck discard, you can then reshuffle your discards back into the dice deck. So let's say you're in a game and by this point your 6s have all been played already, maybe a couple of 5s and 4, maybe your high cards have been played, and you have at least 6 cards in your discard. You can say, you know what, I want those back in my dice deck, and so then you can shuffle them in. But you have to wait till it's somebody's end phase. It could be the opponent's end phase, it could be yours, it could be the nemesis. It just needs to be in the end phase. You don't do it in the middle of a turn. All right, and really that's it to the dice cards. You just draw them and resolve them like you would any other die. Now over here we separated, there's 6 other cards that come with each deck, and these are called fate cards. And you can tell they're fate cards because they're named in the middle. Where if we look at the regular dice cards, they don't have a name, they just have a number. The fate cards have a name to them, and they also have a little fate icon here. Doesn't mean anything, it's just a way to easily identify these from the others because they have the same back. Because these fate cards will end up getting added to your deck. So let's zoom out of here a little bit here. So at the beginning of a game, you would take your 12 dice deck cards, or 12 cards in your dice deck, and you just take the whole deck and you basically would shuffle it up. Boom, that's going to be your dice deck for the game. As part of setup as well, you're going to take your fate cards. There's only 6 of them. You're going to turn those face down. You're going to shuffle those as well. And then you're going to draw 2 of them and put them face up to the side. And you can put this anywhere, just off to the side somewhere. And then this will be the dice deck that I'll use during the game. Now, whenever, I'm going to go into how you get these cards. Whenever your cards, one of your cards is killed in battle and goes to discard, or anytime one of your cards gets discarded to your discard pile or gets banned, but not both. There's actually a card in the game where it can die and be banned at the same time. It won't trigger twice. Anytime, once when one of your cards is killed or banned, you can look at these 2 face-up cards and you pick one of them, and the one that you pick will get added to the discarded cards of your dice deck, and then your discards will get immediately shuffled in, and that's how they become part of your deck. And then now that we have one less over here, one less fate card, another one will be shown and revealed. So now the next time one of my cards dies, I can either take this 7 or a 1. And so thereby, by taking these cards, I'm modifying the probabilities of my deck, because what did I just add there? I just added an extra 4. Yeah, Astral Blitz is a 4. So I added an extra 4 to my deck. Now you're gonna notice also there was some text that we didn't talk about. The fate cards usually have some effect text on them, and this effect text will occur if you choose that card in a fight. So for instance, let's say I had advantage during the combat and I drew, and my 2 cards I drew was a 3 and a 2. If I decide to use the 3 for the combat, I do not get this text effect. I just apply the 3 as normal. Instead, I can choose to use the 2 card and not use the 3, and then I would get the effect of this card here. So you can see that basically these just give you just some more things to think about. You can think about the probabilities of drawing certain cards in your deck. You can decide if you want to shuffle it up or not, and then you're playing sort of a mini deck building game off to the side. When your cards are killed, you get to add these cards, these new cards in. And you're gonna notice the Nova Send here card is just a big 7. It's basically the it doesn't have any special text, but it's a it's just a big number that's really hard to beat. And might as well go through all of them here. So I like to go in number order. So Psychoschism, which a lot of people don't like to add a 1 to their deck, but it's kind of an interesting card because its effect is if you lose this combat, treat it as if combat totals were equal or tie. So normally drawing a 1 is bad, as almost a guaranteed loss in most combats. Here it's more of a guaranteed tie, which if you've seen some of the cards, there are cards in the game that care about ties or whatever, and during a tie, as a reminder, both cards take damage. So it's less bad than a regular 1, and with certain cards it can be actually a benefit. We've already seen the Nova Send here, which is just a big 7. We've got Abyssmire here, which is just a 3, and opponent must use the lower value card if they drew more than 1 dice card. I kind of wanted to call this, it gives the opponent disadvantage, because the game uses the term advantage, but I don't want to start creating new terms and confusing things more, so I just worded it out. Opponent must use the lower value card if they drew more than 1 dice card. pretty self-explanatory. Most of these cards are these fate cards are pretty simple. Quasar is interesting here. It's just a 5. After this combat, reveal the top card of your dice deck. If it is 4 or greater, put it back. Otherwise, reset it. Now, what it means by combat is more that particular combat roll. It's not like saying that combat phase. If it was combat phase, it would say combat phase. So it just makes it so that your next card is not going to be crap. And then we already saw Protexilate here. It's a 2, and it prevents 1 damage your card might receive during combat. A 2 again is usually a bad roll. More often than not, you're going to lose on that roll. And here you just prevent the damage, which is nice. And then the other one, which we buried in this deck here, was Astral Blitz. And this one's a 4, and reveal the top card of your dice deck. If it is 4 or higher, this card value is +1. Put the reveal card back on top of its dice deck. So this is a 4, sometimes it could be a 5, and both Quasar and Astral Blitz kind of give you some prior knowledge of the next card in your deck, whereas Protexilate and Psychoschism are more about just not having a horrible combat turn. Novacen is all about Novacen and Abyssmire really are more about winning the combat outright, especially Novacen. Abyssmire just makes them use the lower value card, but you're already using a medium card. So and that's basically it for those. So here I'd like to give you just a real quick combat example. I think I explained it well enough, but here we have Ariadne. Heaven Strike is gonna attack the Storm Gargoyle here. It's gonna be just a melee attack because she's in the melee position, so she'd be using her 3 versus his 4. However, he is a red power type and she's good against that, so she has advantage. So in this combat, let's make sure our decks are shuffled here. I'm not sure if I did. At this point, we have no fate cards added in here, but here, because she has advantage, she would draw 2 cards. And I drew well. I could take the 5 or 6, probably taking the 6, and then the opponent would just draw 1 because they don't have advantage. So he has a 4 plus 5, that's a 9. She decides to take the 6 plus 3, also making it a 9. So that's actually a tie, and they would both take damage in this particular scenario. All right, guys, so that's the Fractured Echoes add-on. It's really pretty simple. You're just replacing the dice using cards instead. You've got a couple special dice that you can throw in there. The fate cards are basically special dice that will let you get effects, and I think once you try it this way, you may not want to play the game the old regular way, because it just really does add a whole new level of strategy, a little bit more thinking to the dice roll. And the game is totally playable with just the dice. This is just to add an extra layer for those that want that. Now, I have considered adding these to the base sets, but thinking that people may buy the base sets separately, I didn't want them to have to buy multiple copies of the add-on set. So that's why we're having the add-on set being sold as a complete separate add-on, and then people can choose if they want to add that to the game or not. And it's a one-time purchase, so regardless how many sets you want to get, if you just get just one Fractured Echoes add-on, you're covered for everything. And as a reminder, the Animus Ultimate Edition does come with the Fractured Echoes add-on already in it. It's the only set that has it already completely in. Otherwise, you have to get it as an add-on. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please stay tuned to the Zero Budget Geek YouTube channel, because there's going to be some more videos covering the different sets. We're going to have some sort of fireside chat videos where I'm going to cover the cards and lore and mechanics and game design of all the sets. And then there's going to be some gameplay videos. We're going to play through a campaign mode. If you have any questions, put them down in the comments below. If you want to catch up, there's an official Animus playlist on the Zero Budget Geek YouTube channel that should get you caught up on so many things, and also keep you up to date with the new videos as they come out. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.